Everyone, Bill Pullman. Are you going to do stand-up?
Funny thing happened to me on the way here today.
I would totally like to see Bill Pullman do stand-up. Congratulations, sir. Very nice to see you again.
Thank you.
We were discussing we're neighbors, we have mutual friends, so this is going to be a very warm exchange, unless you have some weird answers prepared that I don't know about. No, not sure.
No.
No, not as of now.
I
Okay.
did move my chair away just then.
Yes, it feels a little like we're like a little too close.
But
Okay.
we do live in the same neighborhood.
We do. We're neighborly. I was just texting with my mom, telling her that I was about to speak to Bill, and I think she speaks for all of us when she said, "I love him, but I don't like knowing that he played a murderer." It's an uncomfortable experience knowing that the nicest person in Hollywood, next to Tom Hanks, played such a complex, scary character. But we'll get to that in a moment. I do want to know what attracted you to this role, because this is not easy material and emotionally probably very taxing.
Yeah, this was a quick decision had to be made because it was on a timeline with reality.
Right.
I guess that's it. Happens.
Sort of
ripped from the
the
headline.
real case is happening in real time.
Yeah, but so they had the verdicts were delivered in March, and then they knew they had to get the movie in production before the drop dead date with the strike. With the negotiation.
You had a lot of time on this.
So yeah, so which was July 1st, right? Yeah. So we had to get started at the end of May. I had. I think it's 8 days, but the first 2 days I was saying no.
And why did you say no?
I was having kind of like a physical reaction to. I thought it was a sign that was so repulsive that I couldn't do it, but it really ended up being that was the last shred of my own morality, and embarrassment and shame and all of that.
Embarrassment about what?
What's that?
You were embarrassed about what?
It's like a sympathetic, a simultaneous, similar type of thing. Like I was being caught, but I was still in my kind of moral codes and everything. But more, and then by the time, once you start working on a part like that, then you kind of walk through a membrane. You move. It's like a permeable membrane, and you can move through that, and then you're free of that kind of reaction. You start investigating what it is to be on drugs. Always a good.
Because and that's a great point. This is a story as much of a tragedy and murder as it is about addiction. So tell me what you learned about that and the state of mind that this person was in.
Well, I think chasing a high. Everybody knows that, but this is it's amazing to me that I didn't know a lot about Oxycodone, Oxycontin, and the fact that you could build up an addiction that would cost you $50,000 a month, and that that'd be a lot of drugs. And because you start out using, it doesn't take very much to get you going, and then at a certain point it just builds up more and more and more. And so but when you're on that high, you kind of like you're in turbulence or something, and then you're satisfied, and then you lift through the clouds, and there is some things about that were interesting to feel. There's a kind of freedom you get with that. I think the journey of this movie, which, because I didn't want people to go, oh, that was part of why I didn't want to do it, because I didn't know about him, and I started asking people that I knew in my life. And
so you weren't aware very much of the case before this?
Nobody would told me about it.
Well, you clearly and wisely don't watch news, because that is where most of us became familiar with this person, and it's just terrible. Everything about it is just terrible.
See, and then everybody said, oh, I hate that guy. I hate him. And I thought, this is a non-starter, this movie. I walk in, they go, I hate you. And then they, 3.5 hours later,
Right.
they haven't changed their minds. So I was talking to Greg Beeman, who is the director, who, you also have to kind of make a marriage pretty quick when you're on that kind of deadline. So you have to, and I just wanted to hear what he had to say about what he thought about things. And he said, I said, what do you think about his feelings about his wife and child? And he said, I think he loved them. Loved them very much. And I think that fact that you love someone and then you also kill them is a big paradox.
Right. So this isn't essentially like a Ted Bundy story where someone's wantonly committing numerous crimes and having no regard for human life. This is someone who completely lost sense of who he is, went probably insane, and did the most horrible thing a person can do.
Yeah.
So there's that incredible journey in that you can explore as an actor that probably felt like scary but also rewarding.
Well, I think there's a little, maybe it's wrong to say it, but there is some kind of weird, the producer of this movie is the guy Tim, who makes a ton of movies in Canada all the time. Bing, pow, pow, pow.
This was filmed in BC, right?
Yeah. And he said, I never thought that I wouldn't say felt sorry for the guy, but I empathized with him. Yeah. And I think that was my thought was, it's not like you have to really approve of what he's doing, but if you feel that some little bit of his, the chase and his circumstances, before you really shut down on him, you suspend that as long as you can, so that the character has some, you're still in play with him and not just in judgment of him.
And did you research like the 911 call and the police documents? Did you have access to those materials?
Finally, I got to see what everybody else saw, and,
So you had a crash course in this terrible event.
I'm a junkie for verbatim dialogue, It's just, I see when it's actually printed, the way people talk, it's incredible, the crazy syntax, throwing, starts with talking about that dog, they come around, where they're changing.
Well, he's Southern, but he's also really intelligent. He's an attorney. So he has like kind of jargon and sort of local folksiness, but he's also very smart. It's an interesting mix.
Yeah, he's intelligent, like a heat-seeking missile. He can start a sentence and he knows where he has to go to kind of get the most rewards. Right. Kind of like the red-haired, orange-haired guy. You look at that syntax.
I'm sorry, what orange-haired person are you speaking
There's
of?
an orange-haired guy
Ronald McDonald?
in our culture, yeah. But there was a period where they fixed his grammar, and I think up until 2016 they were fixing that, and then they said, no, we're not doing that anymore. And then you go, whoa, and you can feel the.
I saw a lot of parallels with that individual in this story.
Yeah. There's a certain uncanny, and you could call it like a feral intelligence about, if you're starting some sentence and that's starting to get boring to you, go to a whole new sentence in the middle.
It's an interesting campaign vibe. It really is.
That's it. But Michael Vickerman wrote the script, and there's the verbatim text from the 911 call, and the dash cam and the first deposition that happens in the car with the SLED officers, and there's endless courtroom because South Carolina allows the TV in the courtroom, and so there's a lot of data. But when you hear what he actually was saying in that 911 call, it's kind of like some of it's like, that's too much information.
Yeah, he doth protesteth too much, I think I said that.
He doth protest a little bit too, my son, I think, I'll tell you, I think if somebody's mad about that, and just like.
Tell me about, you have a great, I'm married to a Southerner who's very sensitive about terrible Southern accent when he hears them. Yours was very good. So tell me about how you prepared. Did you listen to not only this person you're playing, but did you listen to that local dialect? It's a very specific Southern accent. It's not Texas, it's not Florida. It's very specific to that region.
Yeah, South Carolina, North Carolina. I love the South. I love the sound of those voices. I used to listen to old Smithsonian Folkways records of Appalachian people telling jack tales and stuff like that, because I just love that deep, and the Piedmont's one thing. There's lots of different shades. Also where, because Murdaugh, he pitches it pretty high, so he back up in here. It's not down low. It's not in that low part. So, and there's this range that happens, but he's fast talking.
Right.
So you got to kind of find the cadence.
It's a lot of theatrics.
Yeah.
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 And what is the emotional toll day to day of playing a role like this? Are you coming home at the end of the day or wherever you're staying, your condo, rental home, and are you just exhausted and depleted? Are you able to separate the work from when you're calling your wife, seeing your kids at the end of the day? Because I imagine that's a difficult balance.
I was on high. I was all about keeping ahead of the game. Learning my lines was like, I gotta pay attention to that. I had my regimen for, keeping my mental health or my physical health together. And then, but I did have, the night, probably the hardest night of shooting was around the dog kennels in the Moselle, that thing. And, it was raining. It was raining there, and we shot in Vancouver, outside of Vancouver, and it was raining, and I was sick. I had some kind of weird, flu-like thing that was coming on me bad, and I said, we got to get somebody here, maybe that can help me, and they brought a chiropractor. So I have a lunch break, and I just take a look at it. I hear this guy. He was wearing a Hawaiian shirt. I thought, I need to be healed.
I don't know why that's funny, but continue.
Yeah, I'm about to go shoot people. I want to get healthy for it, And he was being very I'm going to talk to you first. Don't talk to me. Just touch me and heal me. And, no, I'm talk to you first. And you may not. Feel like much is happening. I go, yeah, that's good. I'm glad you told me that, because I was feeling that. And he said, but and you may not feel any effects from this for a little bit. And I thought, but I didn't want to be rude, so
because you're Bill Pullman, you're not going to be rude to him.
I'm not going to be rude. He's in my trailer. It's a done deal. And so he taught me a really cool thing called the eagle's claw, and you stick your hand up in there, you kind of lift your palate. It's a real, and you stick your fingers up into your sinuses.
Ow.
It was a really, and they had me video me doing that, so I'd be able to go and do it regularly. And I thought, I don't know.
Did it help?
Well, not at that moment.
This was delayed reaction.
Delayed, yeah, but so this is already, we're shooting nights, we're gonna go till, 5 in the morning, and this is already like 11 o'clock, and I'm still, thank you very much, doctor, and then I start getting ready and looking at the lines and everything, and then I'm in the car, and I'm going to the set, and I go, holy crap. It's working. And
the claw did its job.
The eagle claw and all those little touchy things.
By the way, we have eagle claw treatments for everyone after this, right outside. You're going to feel fantastic.
Yeah, I'm going to sell this little video of myself.
Huge YouTube community in the eagle claw world.
Yeah.
That is fascinating, Bill. So I'm going to come back to Alex in a minute and this incredible performance, but I do want to go back a little bit to 1987, Spaceballs, an amazing major film debut on your part. You've done some smaller parts, but I would say this is your breakout movie. What do you remember about working with Mel Brooks, and how did that movie change your life?
Yeah, that was, I thought they were all gonna be like that, and I just landed in heaven, because it was so much a movie, it was MGM, the last MGM movie shot on the MGM lot when it was owned by MGM, and you go into the lot, and the head of makeup was a guy who had a blazer and a tie,
Oh, the good old days.
Yeah, the good old days, yeah. And there was, the costumer was this flamboyant guy, just one name, Don Feld. I said, isn't it Don Feld? No, Don Feld. And he was so, wonderful, and he took care of me, and he, just all those things that you...
Kind of like classic movie star treatment.
Classic movie, yeah. He said, you know how you're going to be a movie star? No, Don Feld, tell me. And he said, there's a little, when you try on a pair of pants and you feel this little extra fabric, and then he took his hand and he gathered it up and goes, get rid of that. And you'll be a star. This is going well.
The wise words of Don Feld. If you haven't had a chance to see Spaceballs recently, I watched it during COVID. It is magic. It's like a gift from the gods, so please watch it. So after that, of course, Bill perfected the role of the nice guy in Singles, A League of Their Own, Sleepless in Seattle, While You Were Sleeping, Independence Day, and so many other movies. And I've always wanted to ask you, did you feel like you were sort of trapped in nice guy jail for a long time? And I think Tom Hanks and Hugh Grant had similar trajectories where they got so good at playing these guys we're rooting for that after a while, did you kind of wish, I just want to play an asshole, I want to play someone who isn't good or doing the right thing? Or were you happy with the work you were getting? Because clearly you're a very gracious person.
Well, because I came out of the theater, so the whole idea wasn't to be a persona of one thing, and so I was really restless about all that. And sometimes just wouldn't do things and wait for something eccentric and weird, and then I did a lot of it in the theater. I've been doing.
So that was kind of your place to exercise your weird demons, and then you do your film roles.
Yeah, but then I did some movies that people just don't seem to register, Lost Highway, or
Lost Highway,
maybe there are
absolutely.
people like your mom that go, I don't want to see that.
She doesn't want to see you in a David Lynch movie.
No, or Jennifer Lynch's movie that David produced, Surveillance. She shouldn't watch that.
No, that's not good for moms.
That's not good for mom, no. And, I remember shooting scenes from Surveillance. We were in Canada, and, I like the Canadian crews a lot.
Apparently you're really into these Canadian productions.
I did.
And the chiropractors on set.
Yes, that's right. But they all, and they like me. I think they think I'm Canadian. I'm a nice guy.
You have a very Canadian vibe.
I grew up close to Canada in Western New York State, but, it's, around the craft service and everything, and talking to them, get to know their names, coming into the, production studio, and then we did the nasty scene.
People have to see this movie to
Surveillance,
understand,
yeah.
yes.
It's a big surprise, and I came out, I'm still in my head and everything, but I came out and I realized all those Canadian guys are like looking away. They didn't
want to see Bill Pullman doing that.
Didn't want to see me that way.
So even those guys had a hard time with your transitioning to difficult parts. Because I think we get comforted by people like you, sort of good guys. We want to see that people like you still exist in the world. At least that's how I feel.
How'd you feel about that scene in The Sinner when she was stepping on my fingers?
little uncomfortable,
and I
Bill.
enjoyed it.
It was a little uncomfortable. For me, I feel like The Sinner was a major turning point for seeing you in a different light. An amazing limited series, which is now, it's actually an anthology on Netflix, but was made for USA. And then how did that role in The Sinner prepare you for playing this character in this Lifetime series? Were you able to access that darkness a little bit more easily, having done numerous seasons of that series, which is super dark and super psychologically taxing?
Yeah. I think that in The Sinner, that Derek Simons was the creator and the showrunner and everything, and he's a Jungian. So, there was a lot of shadow self. And, Harry Ambrose is this detective who you know, his superpower is empathetic connection to the criminals, people who killed or done bad things. So he's also, you know, that membrane between them and him was a little porous. And, you know, there's kind of the, for 4 seasons had an arc going through that more and more, and then kind of coming away from it. But I was always feeling, you know, that I would return to my side of the membrane. But suddenly with Murdaugh, I could go to the other side. You know,
It's like a training session.
all
you
those
had to-
that prep for those 4 years to try to, you know, detect, see the tells of so much behavior, and then to actually walk in there and be the one given the tells. You know, yeah, that was the
That's very
bookends.
interesting. And in closing, what do you feel is the most valuable part of this series artistically, in terms of what we can take away from this performance? Because it is sort of the ultimate cautionary tale, but I think there's also just a lot to mine about. It's very American, it's centered on greed, it's centered on status. That's a lot of what I took away. But tell me what you think is the biggest artistic value of this series.
Well, you know, I think that there is, it is amazing how long it takes to get onto a good con man. You know, we know this nationally. You know, it's
Especially when they're really
I think it's just like you will not allow yourself to totally, you know, maybe that's a good thing for the human race that you, but there, people all around him never suspected him of it. And that was part of the phenomenon of reading about it and everything, was, you know, how it kept peeling like an onion, you know. My friend Connie, who said, you know, old Satan must have taken a look at Murdaugh and went, whoa, dude, you're bad.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and that I think it's still, you feel that, and, you know, maybe that's why people say, I hate that guy, because they suddenly realize how a con man, but they're probably the most susceptible to con men. I think those people that say, I hate that guy, I can't watch that guy, they're probably the most susceptible.
Or maybe they don't like to
being
think that
conned.
evil
Yeah.
can exist in plain sight in the way that it did in this story. And sort of this guy was a friend, a neighbor, and a dad, and a colleague, and that's what's so disturbing, is it could be anyone, really.
Yeah, and yeah, we're all
Well-
the sheep and they're the wolf.
Well, on that note, Bill, amazing performance as always. You're very gracious and very kind, and we're so honored to have you here tonight. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you so much. And your chiropractic services will be right outside with the drink.